What's up, guys? Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Tuesday, January 26th. Got some fishing in last week. It was a pretty good week, actually. Had our Intel tournament on Saturday. Had a great turnout there, so pretty cool deal there. But all in all, fish are biting. Things are changing, though. Things are definitely changing. Starting to see a few things move, shift, so on and so forth. Far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 915.65. The lake has come up about 3/4 of a foot in the last 24 hours. We got about 2.5 inches of rain here in Springfield, a little bit more to the south and east of us, so that'll really probably affect Bull Shoals more than it does us. But we do see the lake rising. Pretty sure it's going to come up a little bit more. Beaver's up a little bit. Bull Shoals is up a little bit. So not enough that they're going to open floodgates or anything, but we probably will see current going forward because of this rain. Water temperature, it's kind of all over the map. Down by the dam, mid-lake area, you're still 46 to 48. You get up into the river arms, I've seen 39, 42. They're in Shell Knob, it's around 44. Up the James, about mid-James, you're around 43, 44. So anywhere from high 30s to, mid to upper 40s. And this was a warm rain that came in yesterday, so hard to say. We're probably going to see a little bit warmer temperature. I don't think we're going to see a great big cool down. I think we've got one really cold day this week. Today's not pleasant. That's why I'm in the office instead of on the water. But we've really only got one day. I think tomorrow it's supposed to get a chance of snow, so it's going to be definitely chillier tomorrow than it has been all week. But, the bite, like I said, it's been changing. And, just looking at the results of the Intel tournament over the weekend, those guys, the fish were deeper, but they weren't really fishing deep like we have been for the last 2 weeks. And really, towards the end of last week, a lot of what I did was focusing on fish moving and fish transitioning. And I don't want to say they're working their way to the bank already, but they're definitely starting to move shallow. Best way to stay on top of that, of course, is to become a pro member of Table Rock Fishing Intel. Get those daily reports, weekly reports, maps, all the feature videos, the tournament results, all that information is going to be there for you. We had the Intel tournament this past weekend, and we interviewed the top 3 guys, and they gave up some really good information. Of course, that's only available if you are a pro member to Table Rock Fishing Intel. So check out TableRockFishingIntel.com, sign up, and you get access to all the information. But if you're coming down, say you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, the deep bite is still there. But it's not as strong as it was even just a week ago. A week ago we were catching them really good deep. But, by the time we got to the weekend, those deep fish had kind of broken up a little bit. A lot of it was weather related, but, you can still catch them on a jewel scuba spoon, rapidly jigging wrap, and swim bait fishing it deep. But as far as a tournament winning pattern, I would definitely say that's not there. Can you go out and catch fish on it? Absolutely. And you'll be able to catch fish on it probably all the way up through about mid to the end of February. Better bite has definitely been on the A-rig. The A-rig has definitely turned on in the last probably 4 or 5 days. Most of these fish are coming still more main lake than back in the creeks. Definitely on steeper banks like bluff ends and channel swing type stuff. Ends of those bluffs, anywhere you've got some standing timber. Not saying the fish are coming out of 5 foot of water. Most of them are still coming out of fairly deep water. Most of them still on the main lake because that's where the bulk of the shad are. So definitely want to have an A-rig tied on. Been a few getting caught on a jerkbait as well. Spromic stick, Megabass Vision 110. I think you can catch fish on that, but better fish are really starting to show up on the A-rig. So if you're fishing a derby, I'd have an A-rig tied on because you're going to catch a lot better fish on the A-rig than you are a stick bait or even fishing deep right now. It really seems like these fish are starting to transition. They're starting to move away from that deep bite and get back up towards the bank. Go up in the Kimberling City area, mid-lake, same sort of deal. Definitely starting to see these fish transition. Can you still catch them deep? Absolutely. You can still catch them on a scuba spoon, jigging wrap, or swim bait fish deep. You're just not going to catch the numbers. You're not going to catch the size that we've been catching over the last few weeks. Most of these fish, again, are starting to make a move. They're starting to transition. With this rain that came in, I know yesterday the bite was a lot better towards the back of the creeks. The rain moved out, it started to get some runoff, starting to get some water in there. Shad moved a little bit, fish followed them, they went back into the creeks again. Now, that won't last because the runoff's going to quit, but as long as we've got that runoff, we've got that current coming into those creek arms, those fish will be back in there. And there's been some really good fish caught towards the backs of the creeks on just a single swim bait on like a gem spin, catching them on the A-rig, of course, back in there, and catching them on a jerkbait back in there. So while you've got that current, fish those areas. Well, I've got that runoff, I should say. Fish those areas. As we get further and further away from this rain, you're going to want to move back out. Probably the last or the first quarter of those creek arms, especially if you got a bluff in at the mouth of a creek arm. That's where you're going to find the fish by the weekend, because we really, after yesterday, there's a chance of snow tomorrow, but there's no real rain, so you're going to see that runoff start to dissipate, and you're going to see that current take over and pull the plankton out of the creeks, and the shad will follow, and the fish will follow that. Go up into the James. James should really fire up with this rain that came in this week. It should color the water up a little bit. You know, for the James River, it's been really incredibly clear so far. Haven't had a lot of color in it. With this amount of rain, with this amount of runoff, we're going to get some color back in the James, and that will start to get these fish move up a little bit more. Still catch them deep up the James as well. You know, scuba spoon, jigging wrap, swim bait on a heavier jig head. You can definitely catch them doing that. But the better bite is definitely going to be on an A-rig, fishing it around bluff ends, steeper channel swing type banks, anything you got a little bit of cover. Jerkbait, Megabass Vision 110, Spro McStick, again on those channel swing banks, bluff end type stuff. And on a jig, you know, a surprising number of fish coming on a jig right now. And a lot of those are on those calm, sunny days. Those fish aren't really willing to chase. Seems like every week we get 1 or 2 days where it's just dead flat, slick, calm. Seem to be doing with a lot better with the Jewel Pro Spider jig on a 7/16 up the James. I've been throwing more of the Missouri Craw or the Bass Whacker, something that's got some bright color in it, with a beaver on as a trailer, fishing these same locations, fishing the bluff ends, fishing the channel swing ends, those sort of things. Steeper banks really seem to be holding fish up the James right now. And go up in the White River, same deal. Can you catch them deep? Sure. Is it as good as it was 2 weeks ago? Nah. You definitely want to have if you're going to fish deep, you're going to use a scuba spoon, you're going to use a jig and wrap, you're going to use a swim bait on a heavier jig head. You can certainly catch fish doing that. Most of them, again, are going to be working their way out of those creeks back towards the main lake with the amount of current they're running. But the better bite has been on an A-rig by far. Catching them on the A-rig, on those bluff ends, channel swings. You get in some of the bigger creeks like at Baxter or Big Creek. You know, those almost fish like the main lake because they're so big, and they will continue to hold shad. So look at those bluff ends and channel swing banks in there with your A-rig or with a jerkbait. You know, Spro McStick, Megabass Vision 110, either one of those. And then if you're going to go up the Kings, I would definitely have a jig tied on, 7/16 Jewel Pro Spider jig, or a crankbait. A lot of guys have still been catching them on either a rock crawler or a wigglewort up the Kings on those channel swing type banks. And that bite really starts to turn on usually second week of February is when we really see that crankbait bite turn on. Up the Kings, it's the first part of the lake where it turns on, so keep that in mind if you're going to head up that direction this week. Guys, we are almost through January, which means we're hopefully on the backside of winter. Granted, we'll still have some cold days, some nasty days, but generally speaking, we get into February, we start to see the temperatures warm up, we start to see the fish moving a lot more, and really, I'm starting to see that already on the water. The fish are definitely starting to transition out of that deep. Still catch them deep, but they're starting to transition away from the deep bite, more towards the banks, more towards the quote-unquote shallower stuff. Maybe not right out in the middle, but they are still deep. But best way to stay on top of that, best way to know what's going on is to join Table Rock Fishing Intel, become a pro member, and get access to all the reports, daily, weekly reports, the maps are crucial for following these fish. You know, our maps are broken up into different months, so you can, or different seasons, so you can see the transition right on following those maps. Especially if you have a favorite area of the lake, you can follow it on the maps or your favorite area of the lake. And then the tournament reports. Like I said, we had interviews with the top 3 last week. Really helped out. They gave out a lot of information to make it easier for you to find fish and catch fish on Table Rock Lake. So check out Table Rock Fishing Intel. Coming down, want to hire a guide, though, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusfishing.com. Either shoot me an email or book online. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, thanks for watching the videos. Again, check out Table Rock Fishing Intel if you haven't done so already. But thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.